Okay, guys, welcome to another edition of the Incredible Hulk podcast. This time we are speaking about the season 4 story called Bring Me the Head of the Hulk, which was also directed by Bill Bixby, which is a rare outing for him. So that's really great. Jack Colvin did a couple of directorial episodes as well, which we might come to at some point. But it's nice that Bill did this. That was a nice change. Of course, starred Bill Bixby obviously as Banner, Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, and the main villain and antagonist in this was Jed Mills, who played Fronte. And we have an interview at the end of this podcast with Jed Mills, who will be talking about that and his memories of that show and other things. So do stick around for that. I'm joined by my friend here for this podcast, Graham, tonight. How are you, Graham?
How you doing, Frankie? Good to be here, mate. Good to be back.
Doing good, man. So let's see how we can tackle this story. So this is Bring Me the Head of the Hulk. Right.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Bill Bixby. I believe this was his directorial debut.
I think it is.
So,
yes. It's the only Hulk episode he did in the TV series. He did direct the last 2 TV movies that came out in the 89 and 90. He did both of those.
Yeah.
But for the original series, I think he only ever did one.
There you go. There's a wee tidbit for you folks. Interesting story. You know, you get the backdrop set up of the scientist lab to basically snare the Hulk into a trap, and he's rounded up these suspects as potential employees of the establishment. So yeah,
it's interesting. At the beginning, though, you see him approach McGee. About getting funding for it, or to do this to get the Hulk. And it's interesting that McGee actually says, I don't want the creature killed, we just want to capture it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how he's changed and developed over the years as well as a character, because initially he would have probably tried to kill it in the early stages.
Once you get to the later stages of season 3 into season 4, you do see the lighter side of McGee. He does realise there's two, basically, there's one man and this entity type thing, So if you kill one, you kill the other. So he's a wee bit more empathetic in that sense.
Yes, and he actually says to Fronte, he says, after Fronte leaves, he talks to his boss, Mark, who pops up a lot in the series. And also changes colour as well sometimes, I think. No, he didn't change colour. He changed actor. Mark wasn't...
Changed colour, eh? Talk about typecasting.
No, I thought he did, but I got that wrong. There was a guy he was talking to, and it wasn't the boss, it was someone else.
That sounds like the original Waylon Smithers for season 1 of The Simpsons, Yeah.
But he wasn't played by the same actor all the way through, so every time you see the character Mark, he's often played by someone else, It's kind of a strange one, that.
There you go.
But anyway, it's supposed to be the same bloke, and it's interesting what you say, because Mark says to him, "What do you think about this guy?" And he says, "Well, he seems to know what he seems to be very, organised and blah 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 blah. But I certainly think he's dangerous. I'm going to look into him." So he's onto him. Doesn't trust him at all. So it's interesting.
I also found it interesting in that circumstance. McGee calls up his. One of his buddies for a rival newspaper or not a rival firm to do a bit of digging, and he's got a passion to feed the ducks as well.
Yes.
Oh, he's undercover, so there you go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's quite cool. So anyway, this guy is going around. Fronte's going around trying to get money up front from various firms or newspaper
entities.
Yeah. And finally, one does agree to give him, the money, and says, it's a win-win situation, blah blah blah. So he's got everything kind of worked out, and he's got and he's got a computer system where he's doing like profile about these scientists that he picks to visit the place.
Yep.
Banner is ringing up, like looking for a job at a search centre for his own reasons.
Every payphone the poor bloke visits is ringing to somebody for a job,
So anyway, eventually he does get through to Fronte, and the actor who plays Alex, as you said, who's Fronte's right hand man, played by Sandy McPeak, who was also in the episode A Child in Need, who played the abusing father in it.
Season 2, I believe that was.
Season 2, which is a very powerful story as well, which we'll do at some point. It's a very strong story. Obviously, it's addressing very powerful issues.
Yep.
And he was very good in that, even though he was fundamentally bad in it. But he was a very good actor. So he's in this, and he's playing a very different kind of role, where he's kind of like going along following orders from the front, but equally he's got a bit of a prick of conscience as well. He starts to like the people there, and he's kind of like turning the other way, he's very good in it though, and he's very, very kind of like got everything kind of like sorted out and to the letter, and the times and everything, he's all coordinated, anyway, eventually Banner speaks on the phone, and McPeak answers, and I think they've got like a hotline. They're listening in, recording the conversation, and he immediately says, to McPeak afterwards, he says, "Yeah, get him. I think he could be,
Yeah, hire him. Yep.
You're hired." Yeah. So it takes him a couple of days to get there. Apparently, this is quite a long distance, wherever the hell this place is. But he does get there, and befriends a female scientist there as well.
Yes, that was Jane.
Jane, what's her name? Jane.
She was known as a werewolf doctor or something, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's there and stuff like that. And he befriends her. Mainly, it centers around her. There's several other people, as you said, there as well, but we don't really get to know them as much.
No.
They're kind of just small extras, really. But it's intriguing, the concept of it. So he's got them all there, so he can keep an eye on them and monitoring them. And he's obviously recording everything they're saying as well.
Yep.
Conversations, trying to whittle it down as to who the person is that changes into the Hulk, so he can get his prize.
Yep.
And he's got a rocket launcher all set up.
The big bazooka, yes.
Yeah, he's not messing around, this guy, and he's testing it out on these barrels and stuff, and blowing these barrels off and stuff like that. And I think I'm ready now and all that. He's a really, really dangerous fella. As McGee called him, a mercenary.
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah, and we get a point where they've been working all night on Banner, and this lady has been working all night on certain like scientific stuff.
Experiments, yep.
Experiments, I think, to do with his problem as well.
Kinetic, somebody with cell fermentation or something, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Cell growth.
That's right. Which he thinks might help him, with his problem. Because that's ultimately why he went there, because they had the sort of, they had the equipment that he was slightly looking for. So he had to get the job to get in there and start, doing his experiments. But of course, what happens is McPeak walks in with this cylinder for them, this box.
Yeah, the acid one. Yeah.
Contains this acid stuff which can burn through the floor and everything like that. That off noxious fumes. Be careful with that, he says. You could kind of you could tell what's going to go on.
Suffocate with that stuff.
Put that in, carefully put it in the cabinet, which isn't locked or anything. And they've been up all night, so they're all morning even. I think they're getting tired. So Banner goes back to his room. The girl carries on working, but foolishly she leaves a book on this, which activates this laser beam thing.
There you go.
And it hits the box, and of course,
bang.
Yeah. Hits and the fume starts. She starts choking out. She screams out for help. Banner rushes to the rescue and get the chokes down as well. And then, of course, we know what happens. The green eyes come out.
Yeah. I found that very interesting because apart from the way that he just, he put the trolley to bust open the door in that section to carry her out, it was the fact at the end there when the Hulk had ceased and he's running like half naked behind the windows to get back into his room before Alex gets to the door.
Yeah. That was a really good moment there. That was so well timed, wasn't it? Brilliantly done. And he just manages to get in, and he sort of pretends he's just woken up and stuff. He's got his, he's still got his, trousers underneath and stuff. But that was a close call. Harry got back in time there.
There you go.
But so that was really great. What other bits did stand out for you there, Graham, at this point?
Well, the one wee bugbear I had was obviously the second time we had the Hulk out in the episode when where Fronte put them onto the one room, started throwing the grenades or whatever it was about, and they started going up in flames.
Yeah.
So he runs out, barricades the door. You've got all these scientists running around, and they're trying to, and he hulks out, and you expected me to believe nobody saw him.
Yeah.
Just one week, right? Nobody saw him.
Yeah.
There was about 8 people in that room.
Well, he kind of went down. He went down on the ground, didn't he?
Still, I mean,
and you had smoke.
By process of elimination, who's not standing up here, folks? Oh, it's David Banner. Just one wee bugbear, but
I was thinking maybe the smoke bombs obscured him or something. It was like smoky in there, so they probably couldn't see properly. Yep. And they were all panicking as well. So But yeah, they did a ram, didn't they? Like a battering ram for the door.
Yeah.
Hit his hand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, now the front's got.
He's big Joe out. He's big bazooka.
He's ready now. He's now facing the Hulk. Well, he faced him in the first Hulk out briefly. Tried to get in then, but interestingly, Alex stopped him from firing.
Yeah.
And he said, "You idiot! How could you do? You follow orders." But it was interesting that Alex didn't want the Hulk killed.
And interesting on the second Hulk, the one who saved the day was McGee.
Yeah, that was interesting. But he came crashing through with the car, didn't he? At the risk of his own life. But it's interesting. That's also interesting as well, Graham, because the Hulk saved him on quite a few occasions. I think he just realised that he wanted to return the favour.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
And that showed the humanitarian, humane side of him, I guess. That he's coming around to the fact that I think that the creature's less of a killer now. But he still wants to get to capture him. I think just to have to. Well, I don't know if it's glory anymore. I think it's just kind of like intrigue. Also, it's just like this mission. He's kind of just so consumed by it, isn't he?
It's like that actually kind of scratch, basically. There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, it falls foul anyway. They don't get the Hulk's okay. Mm-hmm. He goes in and rescues the girl from the flames, and hands her over to McGee.
Indeed.
Yeah.
When she comes to, she's a wee bit pissed off that the funding she supposedly received was phantom funding again. But there you go.
Yeah. And off he goes. Off the Hulk goes. Yeah.
And the piano plays in the background.
But not before he he wraps the rocket launch thing around Le Fronte.
Yeah.
Wraps it around him and ties him up with it. Yeah.
Like a horseshoe. Boing.
Yeah. So in terms of performances here, Graham, what would you like to say about those?
Well, Freud and Alex stood out. I mean, okay, you could say that they're the two, protagonists of the episode, but an episode that can only stand or fall by how good the villain is sometimes, especially if it's a repetitive formula. Sometimes on a show like this, Bixby as good as ever. With Rigno does what he does best. He goes all green, puts on the wig and roars a lot. So you can't really grumble. Solid, supporting acting for obviously McGee. Other than that, the lady that played the scientist, her name escapes me. Shane.
I can't remember now.
At this point, folks, this is where Google is your friend, but some of you don't do that, Yeah. Well,
my man Graham is on the case, I think.
Insane in the membrane. Hang on. Bring me the head of the Hulk. Oh, man.
Right. But yeah, I'm going to try and fill some time here, which is going to be difficult. But so again, just to remind you quickly again that Jed Mills, who I did interview before, and you can check that episode out as well. I did interview him for the episode called Broken Image. which was a season 3 story, and he had a sizable part in that as well. But this one, he actually has the main kind of lead, after after Bill and Lou. So have a look at that one. And he's a very engaging person to interview. So you should have some fun with that. How are you getting on there, Brian? Enjoy.
Ironically, the character and the actress named the same. They're both Jane.
Really?
Yes. There you go.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Jane what? Which say both of them, so I might be able to.
Okay. The actress is Jane McCrow, McRow.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the character name?
Dr. Jane Cartrell. Cartrell?
Oh yes, Dr. Jane Cartrell. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, both called Jane. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's her anyway for you guys.
Eventually.
We got there in the end. But yeah. So I liked the story. I thought it was an interesting one. We've got a few people. A few stories where they are trying to kill the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be a thing that pops up sometimes. Not too much, but you get the occasional one where you got this guy who's absolutely set on getting this thing, and having it as his prize, and he's like completely driven by the idea,
Indeed.
But and this is one of those. Yeah, good story, I think, and interesting that Bill directed it. What did you think of his directing style?
I enjoyed it. There wasn't a lot of jump cuts or splashy edits or anything to distract you or take you to the story. So, for a season 4 episode, not bad at all. Yeah.
Season 4 did have some strong stories, actually. Yeah. Mm. I'd say it was a slightly shorter season as well, because I think that some of the episodes were taken, held over for season 5, which was very short. So they kind of carried those stories over for some reason. They could have just done one long season 4. I'm not quite sure what the reason for that was.
Kind of with loggerheads with the network at the time, probably. They weren't sure whether they were getting renewed, so they probably just held a couple back in case you're right.
Yeah, maybe so.
Fire out a couple,
Yeah. So it's like a short season of 7 episodes, season 5, very, very tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And 18 for season 4. So yeah. But good, yeah. There's some strong stuff in there, as there is with all of them, really. All seasons, really.
Yep.
There's some really good stuff. So this was that was Bring Me the Head of the Hulk. Wish we could have said a bit more, but we are probably a bit tired here.
It's about late at night. It has been a while. So
it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Take that with a grain of salt, guys. We hope you enjoy it regardless.
Yes, we've been trying to do this for quite a while, and one thing and another our schedules haven't worked out, and we've been doing other stuff, but we got there in the end. But we do hope you enjoy what we have said, even if it is a bit shorter than the usual ones. But I hope you enjoy what.
Forget about us. You're here for the interview anyway. Go listen to that.
Yes. Well, I hope you enjoy that. The interview is probably longer than what our bit. But I think we'll have to add that one up.
There you go.
Yeah, so you got that as well. They got that little extra value at the end. So hopefully that will be good. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and we do appreciate it. We'll be back again, probably sooner rather than later, for another Hulk podcast. And thanks, Graham, for joining me.
That was a pleasure, mate. Stay safe, guys.
And we'll see you soon. Take care. The actor who plays the character of the Hunter, who's pivotal in this story, and the character's called Fronte, is none other than actor Jed Mills, and we're going to be discussing some parts of the episode now with him. Welcome, Jed, to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for inviting me again. I enjoyed the last one. Yes.
You're welcome, Jed. It's good to have you here. Now, Jed, we'll get on to. I just want to touch upon a couple of things that you did in the 70s before we talk about that we didn't discuss last time about before we talk about the Hulk episode. Some of the shows you worked on back then were very well known American shows, long running shows. such as Lou Grant, Barney Miller, and Laverne and Shirley. I just wondered if you could share a couple of memories of any of those shows with us.
Okay, let's see. Lou Grant was interesting. I did 3 episodes, by the way, and the first episode I did, I played a parking lot attendant who gets into a fight with a person who, actual fight with a person who parking their car there. The interesting thing about that was, I told you about, in the last episode, I think we talked about improvisation that I did. I went to see an improv show when I was working at the World's Fair in 1964, and I saw this improv show. Somebody invited me to go see this improv show, and I had no idea what improv was. And I went to see this show in the Village, and there was one person in that show that really impressed me with the scene that he did. I thought it was brilliant. And I do the Lou Grant show, and it's the same actor that I had seen back in 1964. And Rene Santoni is the actor, actually. He was actually in the first Dirty Harry movie. He was Dirty Harry's partner, and he gets shot, and he's in the hospital, and that sort of. And so that's how you might know who Rene Santoni is. And so that was an interesting situation. Then I did another one, and both of those episodes that I did were nominated for Best Drama Series or something like that. I'm not sure neither one of them had anything to do with me being in it. my roles were pretty small. I think it's 2 or 3 lines, something like that. Plus a fight, so yeah. So I did that. I did Laverne and Shirley because actually I knew Penny Marshall. Because at one of my improv shows with War Babies, Penny Marshall, Carrie Fisher, and Joan Hackett. You may know who Joan Hackett was. She passed away a long time ago. She was a brilliant American actor. Came to see War Babies. They came backstage afterwards, and they introduced themselves. And I was immediately invited to a party at Carrie's house a few days later. And so I got to know Carrie really well. I got to know Penny really well, and Joan Hackett became friends. So one day I'm over at Penny Marshall's house, at Carrie's house at a party, and Penny says, we're looking for someone to do this guest lead on my show, Laverne and Shirley, and you'd be perfect for it. Would you do it? I said, let me think about it, yes.
It didn't take long.
I got that ticket.
Yeah.
I really thought about it. What else did I do? I did a movie with Joan Rivers, a movie called Rabbit Test, where it's what's his name? The actor, the comedian, Billy Crystal is the lead, and he gets raped by Sharon. What's her name? He gets raped in the gym by this woman, and he gets pregnant. It's obviously a comedy.
Yes.
And the reason I got that part was because Joan Rivers came to see War Babies and saw me on stage, and she invited me to do a couple of roles in this movie. I did 2 different roles, actually. But the first day of shooting, I'm in the second scene, and I'm going to do the first scene. And when it comes to shooting it, okay, camera, and then she has to say action. Joan Rivers goes, action? Like that, like with no strength, no power. And we had already gotten to have a bit of a relationship in terms of being friendly. And I went over and I said, Joan, these are all guys here. They know you're a woman. They're not used to women directors. Kick their ass. When you come to say action, say action. And I told her how to say it. And the next time she said action, and I taught Joan Rivers how to say action. So there's a little story for you. I did a movie called Kiss Daddy Goodbye, which is a little horror film, in which it was about these kids that watch their father get killed by these bikers, but they have the power to move inanimate objects, so they move their father and his around, and through their father, they go around killing all these guys that killed their father. Okay, what else did I do here? I did Too Close for Comfort with, God. You know what I'm talking about. Too Close for Comfort, the lead actor. Anyhow, it comes to me later. He's very well. He's a big star. He was on the Mary Tyler Moore show. He was the newscaster, kind of like the dumb.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, it'll come to me later. And I'm playing a drug dealer in that episode. And he comes to knocks on his daughter's. I knock on his daughter's apartment, and he answers the door, and we have this conversation. And I asked him if they want to buy any drugs, and he says, absolutely not. And I said, oh, that's too bad. And I give a little fist on the chin thing, but a gentle one.
Yeah.
And I said, too bad. You'd make a nice front or something like that. And everybody kind of freaked out that I actually touched him, because nobody touches this guy. You know, he's like a real conservative, funny guy and a terrific actor. And he's passed away actually as well. But touching him was something you just didn't do. He loved it. He thought it was great. I did a Fronte tonight, which I played a transvestite, a transsexual actually. One of the first gender who still talk like a Brooklyn guy like that. You talk like that, right? But I was very unhappy. I was all dressed up and I had a wig on, I had a gown, an evening dress and high heels and makeup and everything, and I wasn't happy with the transition. And I said, that line is such a funny line. I wanted to go back. I wanted to come back being a man again, and it was so. That was a funny line. I can't remember what it was. I did the Mike Douglas show because I was I did a talk show here when I was doing a play in a daytime talk show, and the two guests that were on there besides me and the director of the show was Anne Rice.
Yeah. Yes.
You know who she is?
Yes.
I interviewed the vampire, and I just finished reading the book, and I met Anne Rice. And the other person, as the only autograph I ever got in my entire life, before then and after then, was Jesse Owens, 1936 Olympics.
Good God, yeah.
Who's this beautiful, elegant, well-spoken gentleman, so nice and so kind, and he gave me his autograph. I still have it hanging on my wall. I did Hill Street Blues. I did Adam 12. What else did I do? I'm trying to think. I did Quantum Leap. A lot of these things I'm telling you about are guest starring roles after I did the. Because once you do a guest starring role, you always get guest star credit, even if you have a small part.
Yes, yeah.
That's the way it works in SAG. So, and I continue to do a lot of theater, and then I get the call from Bill. To would I be interested in doing this part of the Fronte? And the next day I got a script, and we had about 2 weeks before we were going to shoot, so I had a lot of time to work on it. And showed up on the set, and that's when I told you that he told me that I was being submitted for a nomination for the role I did on the previous show. So being on the show with of the second one, La Fronte, was very interesting because the character was so. I mean, it was night and day compared to the behavior of the other character that I did and the way he spoke. He was a gentleman, obviously.
Yes.
You saw the show, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy. Bill was very happy with what I did. I personally wasn't that happy with it. I thought I was a little stiff. I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, they were radically different characters, obviously. You know, he was a very dangerous man, La Fronte, but he seemed to have that kind of. He was very focused, wasn't he, on what he wanted to achieve. You know, seemed to be level-headed in like business. You know, when he was talking to the guys to get funding for it and things like that, he seemed to be on the nose with it. But then he increasingly got a little bit deranged by the end of it because of his fixation with killing the Hulk. It was a little bit unstable, shall we say? But what do you remember about your co-star, the
McPeak.
Sandy? So sorry, Sandy McPeak. Yeah.
I loved him. I loved him. He was such a gentleman, and so supportive. And we talked about something we were going to do before we did it. And he had done tons of guest starring roles. He had billing a little bit above mine because he was such a well-known TV actor. And I was just an honor to be with him. I knew who he was. I was impressed with his work in the past. And it was just a delight working with him. And to be pushing him around.
Yes.
You know, the funny thing that happened to me on that, when I'm in the laboratory and I'm about to start the fire and throw the little bombs, I had a moment there where I'm talking to Bill Bixby and I'm feeling bad. Jed is feeling bad about what he's doing to these people. And I had to really circumvent that feeling because I'm the bad guy.
Yes.
And I don't know. To this day, I watch it. I haven't watched it in years, but to this day, sometimes I'll think about that and I'll say, yeah, I'm an actor. Number one, all actors are vain, okay? And we all think we could do better than we've done before.
Oh, yeah.
I say to this day, I don't mean yesterday, but, a year ago or so, I thought about that part. In that last scene, I feel that I wasn't evil enough. Because I was feeling inside personal stuff that was. This is Bill Bixby. I'm giving orders to, and I'm lowly Jed Mills. It was a weird thing. I don't know if that affected it, but no one's ever said it was an awful job, so I don't know. It was fun doing it. And Bill, a friend of mine, had an audition for him about a month or so later, and she told Bill that. You worked with a friend of mine, Jed Mills, and he says, and he had nothing but great things to say about me. So,
oh, that's lovely. And also, it has a distinction as well, Jed, of being directed by Bill. How did you find him as a director compared to an actor?
It's supportive.
Yeah.
He would say things like, just, say the lines. Just don't worry about anything. Say the lines, and what you're doing is coming through. Who you are is coming through. Fine. Because I was feeling a little insecure about that role. I never played a role like that before. And since then, I've done a bunch of them. I've even done Shakespeare plays, but the serious drama stuff. But in that serious kind of a role, that was the first time I'd ever done that. That kind of a supposedly elegant, sophisticated, educated. It was not me. But then again, Teddy wasn't me either.
No.
So it's just making a transition from me to low, me to high. And making a transition to high is a little more difficult than making a transition to low because you have to come off as intelligent. And you have to be intelligent in order to come off, and I wasn't so sure I was intelligent at the time. I know how smart I am now, so don't worry, okay?
Where was
Go on.
Ted, sorry, Jed. Where was most of that shot? The lab area, the big facility.
That was at the Something Garcia Pino. It was a prison. We shot that in a prison in Malibu Canyon.
Ah.
It was actually a prison for young felons between 18 and sort of murderers, bank robbers, that kind of. We didn't get to hang out with those guys or have lunch with them or anything, but we shot that there. And one day, Bill comes up to me and he says, "Well, I'm going to be doing a little speech, a little talk, rather, not a speech, a talk in front of these inmates about making a better life for yourself, and would you be interested in participating and speaking?" And I said, "Sure." I'm always like up to being in front of an audience. So I said, yeah. So I got up there and I talked about my background and being on a gang when I was a kid and coming from the projects and being poor and but having a dream of being and doing what I'm doing today. And I pursued it, and I'm doing it. Here I am in front of you, doing a terrific role, a terrific guy, because I followed a dream rather than being... That's the reason I joined. In fact, I said this, and the reason I joined the Army at 18 years old was to get out of Brooklyn, to get out of that clique of friends that were going nowhere. Mm. And I've gone somewhere, and they haven't.
Yeah.
They're still, in fact, half of them are dead. Today, more than half of them are already gone. Overdose. One guy is executed for killing a cop. Another guy was shot with a girl and dead with a woman. And they were both shot and killed. I grew up with gangsters. I grew up with mafia type guys. Mm. And, so I gave this little speech, and and Bill was always like caring about other people, and he was very. Before we're done with being the head of Hulk, I want to tell you a little personal story about Bill. So let's get on with it. With any more questions about my being the head of the Hulk thing? Now let's do that first.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about Lou Ferrigno. Did you happen to talk with him on set? I just wondered what you thought of him as a person, as the Hulk, and so on.
Well, he's hearing impaired.
Yes.
You knew that?
I did, yeah, he is, yeah, that's right, I knew that, yeah.
So, but he's got a hearing aid in, and he speaks in that tone that, that you would expect a hearing impaired person who is seriously hearing impaired, has that sound, but he was very nice guy. He wasn't around a lot because he was either in makeup, in his green makeup, or on the set shooting. He wasn't hanging out like the rest of us because we were. You couldn't come out and hang out in that stuff that that color.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't good for you, number one, and I guess, and you could melt if you're sweating. So you had to protect that. So he wasn't on the set a lot. But when he was very nice. He'd go over and we'd talk to him, and I would talk to him, and then I'd run into him a couple of times in Hollywood at this or that, and he was, oh yeah, I remember you, and you wrapped the bazooka around the bad guy, right? I don't know if you remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he was nice. He was a cool guy. Yeah.
So tell us a story about Bill, please, Jed.
Okay, the tragic story. He would every week when he would shoot, get off at Friday when I was with him, which was several times because I did 2 episodes. He would get his house trailer, not a trailer, mobile home, and he would pick up his 5-year-old son, or 4-year-old at the time. And they would go on a trip somewhere. And then he would come back. That would be Friday afternoon. And he would come back to L.A. Sunday night and give the child over to his mother, who we were separated from. His mother. So this kid was his life. He was this little boy, and I know how he feels because I have 2 boys that used to be little.
Yeah.
They get big. I don't know how that happened, but they do.
Yeah.
And they're both like 6 feet and 6'1". But I knew that the boy had, because Bill told me he had some kind of a heart condition. So the week after I'm finished, I hear that his boy, I think he was in Vegas with his mom, had a heart attack, on the table, and dies on the table in surgery.
Oh, dear.
His little boy.
Yeah.
That he loved so much. So I went to call to see if I called his friend, the guy that I told you is good friends with him. I had his number, and I called him. I said, "Where's Billy?" He says he came back to work the next day. He had to work. He couldn't sit around thinking about his son. So he came to work. So that week, sometime during that week, I went there and went to the set, and I hugged him, and I cried, and he just was like downtrodden. He didn't cry, but I mean, I didn't like bawl, but I was like tearing. I mean, he was so sad, and I know how brokenhearted he was.
Yeah.
So that was tragic.
That was really tough.
Then,
yeah.
A year later, the boy's mother blows her brains out.
Yes, Brenda Benet. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kills herself. I think it was about a year later.
Yeah.
So, and then I find out that Bill Bixby has cancer. And that was broken. That was heartbreaking. And I tried getting in touch with him, and I couldn't find a way to do it. And I left a message with so-and-so, but I never got. I think he was too involved. He was pretty far gone by the time I found that out.
Yeah.
I did get in touch with his friend. That's right. I did get in touch with him finally, and he said Bill is he's not well. He's not really taking calls, So sorry, Jed. Something like that. I don't quite remember, but it was sad. And then Bill died. That was heartbreaking.
Yes, absolutely. Because I just wondered, Jed, to sum him up as an actor, what you'd like to say about Bill.
I thought Bill was probably not challenged in his career. I think he had pretty easy stuff to do. I think he was terrific at everything he did. I think if he was challenged, he was on a roll. He got one series after another. And tell me an actor that would turn that down to do Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Shakespeare nut, which is okay to be that. That's admirable. Bill Bixby was a terrific actor. I've never seen him do anything like that would be so challenging that he would be nominated for an Academy Award or anything like that. But then again, a non-acting, untalented punk like Casey Astle can get the Academy Award. Anybody can. But that's beside the point. We won't go there. But Bill, I just think he never had a role. I didn't see any of the Magician episodes, but a friend of mine who was a magician coached him today. He learned all his magic from my friend, I think Larry Anderson, Larry Anderson. So I don't know how to answer that, except I don't know how talented. I know he's talented, yeah, and he was totally committed to whatever he did. But it was stuff that was, it was The Incredible Hulk. It was The Courtship of Eddie's Father, The Magician. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, yeah.
In terms of it being a professional, absolute, total professional. Never heard him say, what was that line again? I said, give me a break. I'm trying to remember these lines. Never, ever, ever anything like that. He was there. He was ready. And because of that, I had to do the same thing. I had to be ready because I wouldn't insult him by not being ready after he invited me to do this role, that he had so much confidence in me to do this. And he had only seen me do Teddy. That was remarkable, that he was thinking that I could do this other thing. That was, to me, was quite an honor. And I had to try to live up to it. And it was fun. Anything with Bill Bixby, if I could be with Bill Bixby again, I would, give my left arm. Your left arm, actually.
Oh, mine, thanks, yeah.
That's, Bill Bixby, he was great.
But thanks, Jed, so much for talking about, sharing some really nice stories of your various things you've done, in particular the Hulk, and I appreciate your time talking to me on this particular show. And again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview, and thanks for listening.